So I suppose if you add it up, the amount of money that I've spent on dodgy demos is probably not equivalent to what most students have as student debt. So I think I'm still all right then, really. And at least I paid up front for it, you know what I mean? I haven't got the government chasing me for their money.
And also it's all studio experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and every time you go and make a bad demo, you do learn something. Yeah, so you know, I've learned, yeah, and I've got a tune that I can play from start to finish. I was telling someone this the other day, that when I used to play demos to people, especially if there were rush jobs, you'd go, like I'd usually work full time, or I was working as a waitress or something where you could do shifts. And I'd usually save all my money, or save as much money as I could, and then go into the studio. And when you're doing a job that you really don't like, 8 hours is forever. It's an enormous amount of time. But when you go into the studio and you've got 10 hours or 12 hours, it's nothing. It's nothing. And usually you end up spending all day doing the track, an enormous amount of time fanning around with drums as well. And I usually have like an hour and a half to do vocals, and I like harmonies as well. So you can imagine spend time doing harmonies, and then have maybe 10 minutes to do a lead vocal, which is never satisfactory, not even by anyone's standards. You know, it's flukes when you get full. Well, who knows what goes on behind studio doors? Who am I to say? Oops. What was the point that I was making? Oh, I know. The point that I was making was then the most important thing, i.e. the lead vocal, would always then have to be done in so little time. And also, back in the day when I went in the studio, you know what I mean? It was before all this newfangled, you know, well, not totally before it, but it wasn't as easy to just go in and correct a note and things like that, you know, so there'd be some errors. You know, you're still learning your own voice. Like, to this day, I don't know my own voice. So so there'd always be mistakes, always be dodgy notes. I mean, we comped as best we could, but it was never, as detailed as you can do when, you know, we never went in like in syllables like people can do nowadays. Anyway, that's another thing. So there'd always be errors. So if I was playing it to somebody, like, yeah, this is the new demo that I made, and like, then if I knew there was an error coming up, I'd always cough at the point when I knew the mistake was coming up. So it'd be like, I was like, yeah, they couldn't hear it. But then you think, for the most part, when most people are taking in a new tune, unless they're a musician, or unless they're an engineer, or they're in the studio all the time, they're sort of just taking it as it comes. They're not dissecting it in layers as you would do when you actually construct the thing. So, but yeah, it was nice to sort of leading back to this song and this whole project. It was nice to then start to have a collection of songs that I didn't have to cough over at any particular point. In fact, I'd make sure that people were very silent when there were like moments of brilliance, you know. Shh, do you not hear that? But yeah, that was good.